Okay, so we've talked a lot about the players on both offense and defense and special teams. We talked a lot about the coaches over the last week. Now it's time to make the determination who should stay, who should go, which coaches should stay, which coaches should go, which players should stay, which players should go. But before all of that, I want to talk today about today's sponsor, DraftKings. It's playoff time, and that means teams are contending for the hopes to win Super Bowl 57, which is always exciting. But if you're like me and like a lot of people who watch this channel and your favorite team just isn't in the playoffs right now, then you have to find a different way to add some spice into it. And that's why I'm partnering up with DraftKings to give all new customers a winning offer. All new customers have to do is sign up for DraftKings using promo code WORSTTAKE. Again, it's promo code WORSTTAKE. Bet at least $5 on any NFL playoff game and get $200 instantly in bonus bets. Again, $200 instantly in bonus bets. Yep, that's right. New customers bet just $5 on any NFL playoff game and instantly get $200 in bonus bets deposited into their account. Wondering what you could use those $200 in bonus bets for? Try out same game parlays where you can combine multiple different bets from one game, like which team will win and how much they will win by, and get even bigger winnings. Maybe you can go with the anytime touchdown parlay to add into that, right? Like if you feel strongly about how a team is going to win a game, then you might be able to win strongly based on how that team wins a game. And if mobile sports betting is not yet available in your state, don't worry. There are still ways to get on the fun with the DraftKings Daily Fantasy. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. New customers use promo code WORSTTAKE and bet $5 on any NFL game and get $200 instantly in bonus bets. Again, $5 on any NFL game and get $200 instantly in bonus bets when you use the promo code WORSTTAKE. DraftKings has so many different ways to make watching sports even more fun. Please check them out. First, let's talk about the coaches that should or should not be let go of. I'm on record saying Mike Priefer should probably go, but I'm also on record saying that I just don't think special teams coaches are that important. So I'm not going to trip one direction or the other. I think you could probably make the move. I understand why they wouldn't want to fire two coordinators in 1 year. It's going to kind of make this thing look a little unstable to other people who want to join this staff as defensive coordinators or position coaches. So you have to do what you have to do in the name of optics. And this is definitely something I think they're going to do in the name of optics. But there are also, things that I want them to do that they're not going to do because of those optics, which is fine. So I'm on record with Mike Priefer. Joe Woods, obvious, and it's already done. We'll see who they replace him with when they do. I have a whole video on that. Kevin, I felt like Kevin's fine. Van Pelt, I felt like Van Pelt's fine. So they've already made the move in the coaching staff that I felt like they could and should. And since he's already gone, I feel no reason to dance on that grave. Like, it's just is what it is. The man lost his job already. No need to pile more dirt on that mound. Now let's talk about some players. And I think there's some interesting players that come up here, right? Myles Garrett is not somebody you're going to be moving on from. Let me put that up point blank clearly. But he is somebody who you can restructure their deal in order to kind of get around some salary cap implications, right? And the question is, hey, why would Myles want to do this and why would the Browns want to do this? Well, it's obvious why the Browns would want to do this. They can add more years to an elite player's contract, while also not having to eat as much salary cap space. The reason they can restructure Myles Garrett's deal is because it's one of the few deals on this team that is not loaded in void years. Void years are basically you're agreeing to take dead cap here, you hits in later years when that player's not in contract, right? It's basically years that you're just writing off at the end of the contract. It's a way to skirt around some things. But This year, Myles Garrett's base salary and cap hit goes from what, 29? Well, this year it's going to go from 12 million to 29.1 million. Now, one of the ways you can kind of get around a cap hit is by skirting around the non-guarantees, right? And I don't know what's specifically guaranteed, but basically what you can do is say, hey, Myles, let's redo your deal. Your guarantees are up, right? So next year it's going to cost less if you wanted to cut Myles Garrett than it would to keep Myles Garrett basically in 2024. So to avoid that even being a possibility, to give you more security on not just your spot on this roster, but your spot in this city, right? So basically what they're saying, what you would be wanting to do if you're Myles Garrett, right? Who has all of his stuff in Cleveland. He has a house in Cleveland, has no interest in leaving Cleveland. This makes it even more cemented that you will be here because there's no incentive to move you. If they trade you, there's going to be a massive cap hit, so it's not going to happen. If they release you, it's going to be a massive cap hit, so it's not going to happen. Myles Garrett gets the security that he wants, and he will get more money because of it. And that's the incentive to do this, right? To have security. If you want to stay with the team, he should want to do this, right? So again, that remains to be seen. It's not a guarantee, and it doesn't say something in the opposite direction if he doesn't, but it is something that they can look at and try to do. The dead cap number for this year is going to be about 35 million. There are ways that you can just add more guarantees to the contract. And what the total guarantees for this contract are about 100 million. And what was the signing bonus? 21. So you can convert, like, next year, his contract is going to hit with what, 29 million in dead cap. You can basically convert all of that to a signing bonus and have him under contract next year for like $12 million or something like that. That's something you can do to kind of lower the cap hit there and to save some cap space there. And I would look at them trying to do that. Another guy who could come up as a extension guy is Amari Cooper, because yes, Amari Cooper's contract is technically till 2026, but that is not what the contract is actually saying. The contract is till 2024. So he has 2 years left on that deal, and he'll be coming up at 30. Now, what makes this difficult is for the Browns, it wouldn't make the most sense to extend them unless they're really, really hard on cap space, and I don't expect this to happen. The dead cap for Coop is about +7 right now. The dead cap for Coop next year will be at +12, so you can already trade him or cut him if you wanted to if this thing didn't work out. Fortunately for you, it did, and it's not that high of a cap hit for a wide receiver. I think this year was only $4 million for Amari Cooper, but next year it's going to be 23. So you can like extend them, add some guarantees, get rid of those void years and make those actual years, and then have this contract basically be a 2-year extension on his current deal, where instead of it going to 2026 on void years, it will go to 2026 on guaranteed years. That's something they could do, but then you have to think about, hey, we're going to be having a wide receiver on our roster until he's about 32. Is that what you want to do to save some cap space for here and now in a couple years? That's something to think about, but Amari Cooper could be a contract extension guy. Same thing can be said with John Johnson, because right now, if you cut John Johnson, from what I hear, you're really only saving about $1 million in cap space, because his dead cap's at 12.6, his cap hit is about 13.5, so $900,000, not even $1 million. And he has all of these void years coming up. I believe next year he's going to cost you about $8 million. Regardless, the question is, hey, do you just kind of want to extend and just kind of keep John Johnson, lower that cap hit for next year? So instead of saving $1 million and getting rid of him, you might be able to keep him, but maybe save $5 or $6 million instead of just the one. We'll see what John Johnson wants to do, to be honest. I think that's more important there, because this is the last year of his deal. If he feels like he could be better elsewhere, he can be moved. And that's it. I've seen people throw Jed Wills around, but that's not really realistic. You'll only be saving about $6 million. I don't even know what his health situation is, if you can even move him at this point, because he did have a knee injury at the end of the year. Jakeem Grant, he's most likely out of here. And then with Jordan Elliott, Anthony Schwartz, those guys are going to be fine. So those are some of the restructured candidates here. As far as guys who will not be here next year, let's go through the list. Cade York will probably be here. Alex Wright, Mike Woods, none of the rookies are going to go anywhere. I would say the guys on the list of people who might not be here are John Johnson. I don't think he gets my vote to come back this year, even though I can see how some things could force their hand. Kareem Hunt will most likely be gone and won't be asked to come back. Same thing with Jadeveon Clowney. Now, Greg Newsome, Martin Emerson, Denzel Ward. Depending on who comes in to be defensive coordinators, those guys can be more than safe, or one of those guys can be moved on from. Denzel Ward will be hard to move on from because he just signed a new deal for the same reasons that I would say Myles Garrett would want to sign a new deal would be the same reasons you can't move Denzel Ward because he did sign a new deal, which is it's very hard to trade somebody under a new deal because it doesn't benefit you cap-wise to do it. Because again, the dead cap number is going to be so high on those deals, and the dead cap number is basically how much guarantees are left on this deal that you still have to pay off. And those guarantees are going to count against you. So again, that's why Myles would want a new deal because he's running out of guarantees on that contract. The dead cap number is getting lower. So you want your dead cap to be super high. Myles gets a new deal this summer. He can go and have a super high dead cap number, and he should get a new deal this summer. So he's probably... So between those three, one of those guys might come back, and it would be between Greg Newsome. It would probably be Greg Newsome is the one that gets moved on from if they feel the need to move on from somebody because of the economic factors at play. JOK is fine. Corey, the punter's probably gone. If I don't know, the punter's the punter, man. I really don't care. Hewlett's fine. They just re-signed him. Anthony Schwartz probably gone. You could save $1 million if you cut him. So add him to the pile of guys who are gone. Harrison Bryant probably gone. You could save $1 million if you cut him, even though you could probably find a replacement for him in this year's draft. So I wouldn't sweat it too much. Nick Harris is probably safe. Donovan Peoples-Jones, probably somebody who's going to get an extension here soon, but I would expect that next offseason instead of this offseason because they might be trying to bring in somebody, a wide receiver, which is going to affect Donovan Peoples-Jones' standing in the long term, but not right now. Tommy Togiai, you can get about a couple $100,000 if you get off of him. I would expect that to happen. Demetric Felton is the same situation. I would expect that to happen. They might give him a shot throughout camp, because he doesn't have like a massive roster bonus, but he might be moved on from in those situations. And then A-Walk has about a $500,000 void year this year. He probably is going to get re-signed, and that number is going to get renegotiated. And then Clowney's gone. Clowney is not going to be here anymore. You also get some money freed up, right? Because I think you're still on the hook this year for about $7.5 million of Austin Hooper's dead cap. So $7.5 million of his dead cap for this next year, and then next year it's about $3 million. So you're gonna save $4 million because of that expiring. I don't know what the Baker Mayfield dead cap is, but I'm pretty sure you're gonna get money freed up from his dead cap hit disappearing as well. A lot of things that are gonna kick back in that aren't in right now with the Browns salary cap because of what they did last offseason. So those things have been kind of determined. I think this team is going to look like it's going to be the same big names on top, right? Deshaun Watson, Myles Garrett, Nick Chubb. It's going to be the same big names on top, but where the changes are going to be are the renovations in the building, right? Some things are going to be a little different, like everything behind Nick Chubb. That's going to be different, in my opinion, right? I don't think they're going to go for the bruising back model. I think James Cook, not James Cook, but that's I'm thinking of a Youngstown State alum there. But they're going to go with smaller, more slender guys behind Nick Chubb, guys that can run routes, guys that are more agile. And then I think Nick Chubb's going to be asked to get better at pass protection in the offseason so they can keep him out there in some third down situations. Myles Garrett. That's going to be the same line behind Myles Garrett, but I will hope they would add some other players in there. I think you do have room to add a couple of big splashes. If you make some moves in the offseason to get some cap space, I think you have some room to make a couple of big splashes. I think you had two, right? Maybe one's at D tackle, maybe one's at wide receiver, but I do think you got a couple of big splashes. When I say big splashes, I mean DeForest Buckner maybe, or maybe DeAndre Hopkins, like something like that. I think if you work really hard, you can find rooms for two. I think you definitely have room for one. And maybe that one becomes like a defensive lineman. So maybe it's DeForest Buckner, or maybe it's a situation where you get like a Jonathan Allen, but then you trade for like a Brandon Cooks or something like that, right? Like 1.5, basically big splashes. But that's what the Browns situation is. It's not going to be a complete overhaul. A lot of this team's going to look the same next year. The adjustments are going to be in the building, right? New defensive coordinator. That means new players at different levels of the defense. The big names are going to still be the big names, but the medium names are going to be what changes a lot. That's my thoughts on who's going to stay, who's going to go. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. Y'all have a great day. Have a good night.